Where do you put a water leak sensor? Most homeowners say the sump pump. A few say near the water heater. Almost no one names all the places that actually matter. After 20 years installing monitored security systems, I can tell you the sump pump is one of 10 places where water can do serious damage to your home. And if your sensors aren't covering the others, what you really have is hope that the leak shows up where your sensor happens to be. Here's the list I use, the upgrade that takes you from notification to actual damage mitigation, and what to look for before you buy. A single water sensor protects one location. That's all it does. Water doesn't decide to leak where you placed your only sensor. It leaks where the failure is. And in most homes, there are at least 10 places a failure can happen. Cover only one or two and you're protected for some of them. For the rest, you find out after the damage is done. At that point, you've just got a notification system for the leak you already worried about. Coverage means catching the leaks you can't predict. Here's the list I work from. I'll group them by where they live in the house. Mechanical zone, typically your basement or utility area. Start with your sump pit if you have one. 2 sensor options here, and they work differently. A float-style sensor sits inside the pit and triggers when the water level rises past a certain point. It catches the problem before water overflows onto the floor, which can give you time to react when something's brewing. A pump failure during a moderate rain, for example. The float trips before any flooding actually starts. The trade-off is installation complexity. Floats are typically wired, and many pit covers are sealed for radon, sewage gas, or moisture reasons, so running the cable in can take some doing. A surface-style sensor sits on the floor next to the pit. Simpler placement, easier install, but it only triggers after water has already left the pit. Some homeowners use both for extra coverage. Float for early warning, surface sensor for confirmation. If you have an ejector pit on a separate plumbing run, same logic applies. Water heater next. A floor sensor right next to the unit is one of the smartest sensor placements in the house. Your furnace, air conditioner, or air handler drains condensation through a small line. That line can clog, and when it does, water backs up and finds another way out, sometimes into a ceiling. Attic-mounted air handlers are the biggest concern here. Humidifiers, especially whole house systems tied into the HVAC, run on a water supply. Small line, slow leak, big damage over time. Water treatment devices like reverse osmosis systems and water softeners are another water-fed appliance most homeowners overlook. Daily use wet points spread through the living areas, under every sink in the home, kitchen, bathrooms, utility room. Supply line failures and slow drain leaks both end up in the cabinet first. Behind toilets, the supply line into the tank is a common failure point, and a slow leak there can go unnoticed for a long time. Refrigerators with water lines. The line behind the unit is hard to see and rarely inspected. Washing machines. Hose failures here can dump significant water fast, and if your washer is on an upper floor, the stakes go up. Climate-specific addition. If you live in a climate that experiences freezing temperatures, interior locations adjacent to exterior hose bibs are worth covering. A freeze that splits a pipe inside the wall can create significant damage. That's 10 places. Most homeowners cover 1 or 2. You don't have to install all 10 on day 1. Here's how I think about building up coverage. Bare minimum coverage is the mechanical zone plus your washing machine. That's where the biggest, fastest leaks happen. If you only do 4 or 5 sensors, do them there. Full coverage is all 10, based on what's actually in your home. If you don't live in a freeze-risk climate, skip the hose bib. Adjust the list to fit what you have. One thing to think about before you start buying sensors. Wireless sensors give you more flexibility on where to place them, and they can be more discreet in finished living areas. Hardwired sensors work too, and they don't have batteries to manage. The decision often comes down to something people miss. Your alarm panel only has so many wireless zones. A home using sensors for security, life safety, water, and temperature can max out that capacity faster than you'd think. It's worth checking your panel's wireless zone capacity before you commit to all wireless. Sensors tell you when a leak is happening. A smart shutoff valve goes a step further. It cuts off water before more damage gets done. Here's how it works. A sensor detects water. The sensor reports to your alarm panel. The panel signals the smart valve installed on your main water line. The valve closes. The water gets cut off. You get a notification on your phone with the water already off. Some smart valves also have leak detection built in as a standalone feature. They monitor the flow rate through the valve itself and can trigger a shutoff when something looks off, like a continuous low flow rate when the valve thinks there should be none. That works separately from your alarm system, and it's a belt and suspenders feature to augment your physical leak sensors. Worth knowing whether the valve you're considering offers it. One important note before you go shopping. Installing a smart valve means cutting into your main water line. That's plumber work, so I'd recommend that you not DIY this part. Consult a qualified, licensed plumber for the valve installation, and make sure the unit you select works with your home's water service size. If you're shopping water sensors and valves, here's the decision framework. For sensors, ask 2 questions. Does it integrate with your alarm panel, wired or wireless? Is it supervised, meaning your panel knows when the sensor goes offline or its battery is dying? For smart valves, ask 3 more. Does it integrate with your panel directly? What's the flow rating, meaning does it handle your home's water service size? Does it have standalone flow detection in addition to panel-triggered shutoff? For your alarm panel, ask 1 more. How many wireless zones are available? And how many of those will you use up across all the sensors on your system, not just for water? These are the questions that change which products fit your house. The answers aren't on the box. Here's where 20 years of installing these systems lands. Treat water sensors as a coverage map across your home. Build that map from the 10 places water leaks are most likely to cause a problem, size it to what matters in your home, and pair it with a smart valve if you want to move from notification to damage mitigation. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.